you know when it's live.
It looks live to me.
Yeah, do you see it?
I see live. The content of this meeting is being sent to a third party, and I
Yeah,
click on
okay.
a blue OK.
It's live now. Yeah, we're good to go. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I want to welcome everybody to the City of St. Catharines Heritage Advisory Committee meeting for November the 28th, 2024. Seeing we have quorum, I want to call the meeting to order. We begin this gathering by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering places home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Acknowledging this reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of the Indigenous people. Do we have additions or deletions to be made to the agenda? I noted that we're not going to be talking about Shikluna today.
Yes. Dr. Monk, who first brought this item to myself and to Andrew, has asked to put it on the next agenda. So we're going to wait on that item. Yeah.
Okay. And we're just shifting Adrian's presentation up in the agenda. So if there's nothing else, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Robert, thank you. And all in favor? Okay. Motion to adopt the minutes of the October 31st meeting. I understand that many of us have spotted little typos and things within the text that should be corrected.
Could I take that on, right? Or Lauren, do you want to say something first?
No, Gail, you go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, they're very, very quick. Almost all of them are in the agenda, or not the agenda. There is a big one in the agenda. I'll mention that right away. Oil fountain is still misspelled. Okay, and that's
me.
in the agenda. It's OILLE, pronounced oil, like in Texas or Alberta oil. But that's the agenda item. But the others are all in the minutes, and it's the lack of consistency in naming people with the surnames or just their first names throughout. So I'm
Oh,
going
yeah.
to make a positive suggestion. And the positive suggestion is once you have who's there at the meeting, you don't have to repeat the surname ever, because sometimes and Brian is named Brian or Brain, of course. David Bergen's last name is misspelled on 7.2. Robert doesn't have a last name on 7.2. On 7.3, and this will matter to Andrew, and it's because of the Zoom listening. If you don't hear right, Mackenzie Campa, Campa, it's Campbell. It's that kind of thing. Again, Mark has a name, last surname, but Maria has no name, no last name. So I'm going to suggest that once the absence or the regrets or who's present, that you just stick with first names, because we've got no we don't have two Johns, we don't have, two Roberts or James. Just stick with the first names only, and we'll be out of the problem. There's only one other grammatical one is in number 8. So it's Lauren notes and Lauren adds and Lauren notes, and then there's a E missing from Lauren states. Okay.
Me.
And Carlisle Street is misspelled. It's Carly, and that's in the last paragraph.
Perfect.
So I'm pretty quickly doing it. And maybe as I said, we talked about proofreading it because it's the hearing of what's being said.
Yeah, I think that's really good. We had a little bit of a conversation about setting up a better system for proofreading, including Gail having you take a look at it before it goes out, which I think would be a really great approach.
I have
Also,
good.
just got some feedback from clerks on our minutes, and they're saying that the way that we're recording votes is actually more complicated and in depth than it needs to be, and that we just need to record if something passes or doesn't and by what margin, so we don't have to be repeating people's names there either. So I think this will help simplify our minutes a lot, and I think Gail, your keen eye will really help with the typos and things like that. So I think
Good,
that that's
good.
good. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
in previous years, we didn't put down, what the vote was unless somebody had specifically requested that it be a recorded vote.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
Andrew wanted the recorded vote. I remember him saying he wanted it, but anyway,
Mm.
Yeah, through the chair, it was a request from Andrew. I think it stemmed from a vote where maybe he wanted to make clear, maybe it was a very close vote, and
Right.
it was an issue that he wanted to make sure was clear how the committee, I think it was maybe a demolition that was going to council. And so it was a close vote, I believe, and he wanted to make council aware that it was a close vote.
Yeah.
So yeah, hope that
Right.
helps.
Okay, so I guess we would need a motion to approve the amended minutes.
I'll make it.
Okay, Gail, thank you. And all in favor? Did we have to make any kind of a motion if we're having Gail do the editing of the minutes?
I don't think so. No, I think that's just something we
We'll
can.
just carry on and have her do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any declarations of interest for today? Seeing none, then I guess we will move on to Adrian's presentation on the Global Famine Way shoe sculpture. Hello, Adrian. Take
Hello,
it away.
everybody. How are you?
Right.
I think Lauren's going to set me up
Oh
first.
yeah. So I just wanted to set the stage. Let's see. So Adrian is here to make a request for a portion of the remainder of the 2025 plaques budget to go to this project that he's working on, which is the Global Salmon Way Shoe Sculpture project. He's here to present on that project and to get some of your feedback on using a portion of those funds. Part of them will be going towards part of those funds will be going towards the two plaques that we're working on, but there is a remainder available, and so he's here to introduce that.
Thanks so much, Lauren. I really appreciate that. I hope everybody's had an opportunity to take a look at the document that was circulated regarding the Global Famine Way project. It would have been before the last meeting. We had some uh, calendar games to play with the other committee. I won't review too much of the history, but I'll talk a little bit more about the project itself. So the project recognizes both in Ireland as the National Famine Way and then around the world now as the Global Famine Way, the pathways which some of the immigrants leaving specifically the Strokestown estate in Roscommon, Ireland, but also the remaining thousands of Irish immigrants who left Ireland during the Great Famine. Some of them came here, and so St. Catharines was identified by a sort of a committee of many groups that are sort of organizing the Canadian Canadian route, I guess, of the Global Famine Way. It's very loosely organized that way. And locally, the Niagara Irish Music Festival has taken on the project, and they identified the museum as a great spot to host this particular monument. So you can see a picture of the monument there. They're all the same. I don't know if you have a better picture of the shoes, Lauren, or if you
This
can
is
zoom in.
I think it's
And
bigger.
if you've been to the museum recently, you may have seen a pair of the little bronze shoes, which represent the journey, the walking that they did on the original National Famine Way project in Ireland. So this one's in Ireland, and it marks the National Famine Way marks the journey from the Strokestown Park Estate, which is now the National Famine Museum, to Dublin. And so the great thing is that the Irish Music Festival has paid for the shoes, and then the stonework there is going to be donated. So that's really great. And it'll be installed here at the museum. An additional update for you, which is why we were playing a little bit, trying to figure out the calendar with regards to meetings, was that monuments like this have to be accessioned into the public art collection by the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee. And so that was presented to them back in October, and then they decided to approve and accept this donation as a part of the public art collection. So it'll be taken care of by the city, and it'll be here at the museum. And if you have a copy, if you don't have a copy of the document, please let Laura know. But just for those interested, the monument will go sort of in the what we call the backyard, or the formal name of Discovery Park, sort of between the museum building and the viewing platform. So it's going to be it's a really nice spot. It's near our favorite maple tree that we take a lot of pictures of. In that way, the monument will be sort of looked after every day, kind of thing, in a spot that is high visibility and high visitation. Only to say that some of the locations that have been chosen in other places, for example in Ottawa, have been a little bit more challenging for looking after the monument. For example, the one in Ottawa was placed in a park that used to be an Irish Catholic cemetery, and it's kind of like way out of the way, and nobody really knows it's there. So it's an important location historically, but in terms of visitation, tourism, and it being a part of the Global Famine Way, that was a challenge that the Niagara Irish Music Festival wanted to look after, and that's why it was chosen to come to the museum here. Not to mention that we already interpret this story and interpret the story of the Irish laborers who arrived to work on the canals. So now that we're sort of moving forward now. So now that the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee has adopted the monument, we hope to install in the spring. So the remaining costs are associated with the installation. It's essentially a concrete pad, and so that is not horribly expensive. It's about $1,000. It'll be similar to the concrete pads that benches are installed onto. So that's kind of what we're going with. So something a bit smaller than a bench, basically, for the stonework to sit on. And then additionally, at some point, as part of phase 4 of the museum's interpretive plan, an interpretive panel that will interpret it next to it at some point. I'm not sure about the budgeting around phase 4, which is the last phase of the museum's interpretive plan. As you know, the interpretive plan has been going on forever, and things just keep getting more expensive, which is why it's taking so long to complete. So eventually, as part of phase 4, the monument will get its own interpretive panel, and recognize all of the contributors and the story and all that stuff. So, what I thought might be an interesting thing was if the Heritage Advisory Committee had any remaining funds in 2025, if they were interested in contributing to the project's installation, $1,000. I know a concrete pad is a little not a very sort of attractive purchase, but it's the one remaining piece, and we wouldn't obviously recognize concrete pad. We recognize the entire contribution to the unless you want that to the project. So yes, that is the end of my presentation, and I'll leave it to Lauren.
Right. So I guess through the chair, if there's any discussion about whether there's interest. I know that we're looking at these two plaques for the Zion Church and for the oil fountain. But looking at the budget for those and looking what's available in both 2024 and 2025, there is an excess budget left over that it would allow for you to contribute to this project if that's something that you feel is suitable. Yep.
The only thing, I mean, I don't have any problems with, if the committee wants to contribute, the money towards it. My only observation is, why couldn't the shoes, the monument, have been placed someplace, say, like in Port Dalhousie, close to the remains of the second Welland Canal, seeing so many of the Irish worked on the canal, or even in downtown St. Catharines, close to the cathedral, where so many of them would have worshipped. I mean, the museum is also going to be a good location because of the number of visitors you get there, but, other locations, were they considered?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I worked with the Niagara Irish Music Festival on a couple of different options. And again, Port Dalhousie was on the list. Mountain Locks Park, downtown is a little bit more tricky just in terms of space, but really they were concerned mostly about visitation and being part of the tourism aspect of it, in addition to having the shoes not just be a monument, but also a tool for interpretation. So having it right outside the back door makes it really easy for us to include that story for every tour that comes through, and for regular visitors to see it and notice it as well.
Do we have any other questions or comments about the proposal? And seeing none, then I guess we need to have a motion to receive the information from Adrian.
I just through the chair, I just put up a draft motion. I don't know if everyone can see, but receive the information item and support directing plaque-related funds to the project. We could put $1,000 in there or not, I guess depending on your perspective. Yeah.
Now, is this funding coming out of this year's money or from next year's budget?
It'd be 2025. Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if we should put that in the motion.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. So, any other changes to be made to the motion? Is everybody happy with it? And if so, Holly?
I just have a question about how much is in our funds, because I know there's a few other projects that are coming up in 2025. Wasn't there going to be one for the Neil Peart, some type of a sculpture with him with the drums being in Port Dalhousie Park? Like, I don't know if there's going to be other art pieces that are going to be coming up in 2025 and how much that we have in our budget.
From the plaques that, sorry, through the chair, from the plaques that we're working on right now, it's looking about, 3,500 to 4,000 per year, so 2024 and 2025. I'm not sure about other projects. James?
Yeah, so through the chair, the Neil Peart Memorial is not being funded by our committee or this committee. That's an entirely separate committee that's raising funds for that monument. But yeah, as Lauren said, so the oil fountain and the Zion Baptist Church are the two plaques that we're currently working on. We've received quotes for those, and there is money left over in 2025. So essentially, what we'd be doing is attributing the remainder of the funds, whatever we have left over after the plaques are completed, and that would then be given to Adrian as part of this project. And essentially, that would spend the remaining of our 2025 funds. So we wouldn't really have anything else to worry about in that sense until 2026. Does that help, Holly?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So, who wishes to make this motion? Nobody? Can I make the motion?
Rachel had her hand up, actually.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make it.
Okay, so all in favor? Did that pass or no?
Yeah.
Yes, it did. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I guess that's done then.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thanks,
And
Adrian.
just a quick update on the plaques. We're working on getting our ducks in a row with regards to photos from the collection and the final edits and designs. I'm sure Lauren can provide more information later, but with an eye to the clock and to your heritage applications, I just wanted to say that things are moving along.
Thank you.
Is that good,
Okay,
Lauren?
thanks.
Yeah, wonderful. It's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone. I'm
I'll
sorry I
talk
have
a
to
bit
leave,
later.
but have a good meeting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Okay, so moving on then, I guess, to the other items of business. 7.1, 4 College Street. We have an application for alterations to a house within the Yates Street Heritage Conservation District. I guess Daniel is here with us.
Hi, good afternoon.
I guess the floor is yours.
Okay, great. If it's possible, I have a presentation I could share with the committee. Do I have that privilege
Oh,
or no?
you can try. Let's see. Yeah, usually I would control that, but
I have to send a
go ahead.
request.
I'll allow. Yeah, I think we can do it.
Oh,
Yep,
okay,
we can make it work.
perfect.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so the proposed change is to add an addition to the detached garage in the rear yard for the purposes of an accessory dwelling unit. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the site. It's highlighted in red there, number 4 College Street. It backs onto the Verge Insurance parking area and the seniors retirement home there. This is a survey of the property, so you can see the garage at the rear of the property, which is to the left of the screen here. It's pretty much on the side property line with my neighbor and about 2 feet from the rear property. There's a relatively large, I don't know, evergreen tree anyway, located just kind of south, or I guess it's south of the garage there, near the back fence. And I'll show you some images of the garage itself, which, on the north side, and then from the shot from the driveway, which is beyond the gate. And then to the right there is the rear of the property, which is the back of the garage, taken from the Verge Insurance parking lot, which is a gravel parking lot. And I think you can see sort of the tree at just to the side of that. And then this is taken from the rear yard. Once again, you can see the tree. This is looking west, or facing west rather. And then better shot of the tree in the middle there, and then some proximity shots of the garage and the tree in the back. The neighborhood, as you can see, is wonderful neighborhood. We've been fortunate enough to live there for 4.5 years. I think we're the 4th owner of the house, which is kind of interesting and exciting. And we certainly consider ourselves stewards of that property. So just to give you a sense of the context, most of the architecture is, of course, very diverse, and it's quite elevated, or it's high, and this is just shots from across the street there. So there's either a raised grade with some steps up to sort of a plateau there, and then the building begins after that. So the proposed addition is well, I'll call it a 1.5 story addition above the existing garage. And the intent there is to provide an apartment. You can see that on the right-hand side, we wish to have part of the ground floor retained as storage for the principal dwelling. So that is not included or contemplated as part of the proposed building addition. And you know, I mean, the house is on 3 stories, about 2,600 square feet. So there's not a lot of storage within the building to accommodate the needs of bicycles and tires, and I've got a canoe and stuff like that that you do need a garage to store stuff in. So that's the intent there with the entrance on the right. So just from a plans perspective, if you're looking at the image on the right-hand side, you can see the storage would remain. The entrance would be on the ground floor off the driveway. On the right-hand side, there's a closet, powder room, storage, mechanicals, and then a stair going up to the living kitchen area. And then the half story I referred to is really just a loft space. We've done our best to, keep the, I thought I had more slides, but anyway, we've done our best to keep the height as contained as possible because, and I thought I had that included in here, but I apologize, I guess I didn't. But we're gonna take off, like reduce the underside of the ceiling height to about 7'7" at the ground floor, and then 7 feet sort of for the overall height to. And part of the reason for that is actually just to have a minimal impact on the tree. We've been in, and it's a really significant tree on the property. It's a bit contentious with my neighbor because he gets sap dripped on his staff cars and he wants to cut it down, but we certainly want to maintain it, and we've been assured that only a modest trimming will be required to accommodate this addition. So with that, I'm happy to take any comments. I mean, I am a planner, as you can probably gather from my slides here, but I'm acting as a homeowner here, and this is just a sort of a side project that my wife and I are looking to do for our home.
Thanks. Yeah, do we have questions about the proposal?
Yep. Do you want me to stop sharing?
No questions at all?
I'm just gonna say something.
Holly?
Oh, hi, Dan.
Hi.
In our package, there was a really nice drawing. I think it was maybe from Forest Green that showed that the heights. There was a really nice.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there was a nice
I'm
slide.
sorry, I thought I had that slide included, and
That's
that was
good.
I did this. Thanks for sharing that, Lauren. This was really one of the key slides I wanted to show, and I don't know, maybe I screwed up my presentation, but and sorry to interject here, Mr. Chair, but this was really intended to show the relationship because, of course, even though it's in the rear of the property, I wanted to kind of understand the relationship of the proposed addition with the existing 2 buildings that were there, both my home, the principal dwelling, and my neighbor's home. And then the other thing of note here is, you know, following committee and the comments received, I will need, of course, a few variances to make this proposal happen. So I think what I asked the designer to do is show the 6 meter height to the roof, which is required in the bylaw. So you can see that it's, you know, about 1 meter over the loft level there. And then we've kept the roof relatively shallow. I mean, it doesn't look like that from the pitch in the front, but at the back, it's quite shallow. You know, I think it's 412 or something like that. Once again, part of the intention here is to, even though it's a 3 meter increase over the required height limit for an accessory dwelling unit, a detached context here, we've done our best to create a livable space. It's still within 800 square feet of living space, which is the limit for accessory dwelling units. But once again, part of our intention is just to ensure that it's still subservient to the other dwellings in the adjacent context, but also, once again, to protect and minimize the impact to that tree. So apologies. I thought I had that slide in. I was going to speak to it, but thank you for the opportunity to do that.
Okay, thanks. Other questions, comments? Dr. Bergen.
Yeah, I just am I yeah, I'm on. Good. I like it. I think it suits the neighborhood, it suits the house, and we are looking for infill and I think if I were walking down the street, I would like to look at that as opposed to being offended by it.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Robert?
Yes, and through chair, thank you. The existing garage is very attractive. And I'm wondering what impact that will have on the existing garage building up, whether you're intending to unalter the existing one.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
To what extent?
We have no intention of altering the existing brick. In fact, we were finding some ways to try and save those great big sliding doors. I mean, they're from a conventional or pragmatic perspective, they aren't all that useful in the context of keeping them in the way they are, because obviously they slide over one another, so that wouldn't be conducive to providing an entryway for the apartment. Yet our intention is to perhaps get so you can see there okay.
Oh, sorry, I was going to.
No, that's okay. That's fine. So yeah, so there are the doors there. So the intention would be to try and keep one of them because we quite like them, even though they're probably in need of a little bit of updating. But because the existing the left-hand side, which would be used for storage, if we hinged that one door and opened it, hinged it on the left and had it open towards the driveway, it could still be quite functional and usable. And because it doesn't need to be, that area doesn't need to be conditioned, there's no real concern except from a security perspective. So our intention would be to try and adaptively integrate that into our renovated building here. And obviously the side door would be also maintained just to provide a separate access, a man door access.
Thank you.
Only alterations that have been contemplated is would be noted that we may have to take a couple courses of brick off the top there because the roof is slanted front to back for drainage purposes. It's got a flat roof on it. So taking a few courses down and leveling that out, again, reducing the overall height and creating a flat first floor would be the only consideration of this development. Otherwise, we think the building is quite charming, and we love the brick, and we want to maintain the heritage aspects of this building as much as possible.
Wonderful, thank you. It's a very interesting project. Thank you.
Could one of those sliding garage doors perhaps be retained as, let's say, incorporated into a garden folly of some sort, or maybe even mounted on against one of the brick walls, just as a bit of visual interest, instead of just having it, end up on the trash heap?
Through Mr. Chair, we are certainly considering doing that for one of them. The second one, I mean, they're quite large. I'm not sure how to accommodate or integrate that into the design. If we can think of a way to do that, we would certainly like to do that. But at this point, we can't think of a way to preserve those. That second one, rather.
Okay. Do you have other questions or comments about the proposal? Okay. Seeing none, I guess we would need to have a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Dr. Bergen.
I move that we approve it.
Okay. And all in favor? I guess that's carried.
Thank you very much for your consideration. Appreciate that.
Okay, thanks. Okay, moving on to item 7.2, 24 Johnson Street, alterations to the house. It's in the Port Dalhousie HCD.
Get this up on the screen. And through the chair, Brad, I think Brad is here to speak on this one. Yep, on behalf of the owner.
Okay, razzle dazzle us.
Okay, thank you so much. Everyone can hear me okay? Yep, perfect. Okay, thank you so much. I'm here on behalf of the owner. I'm the residential designer for this property. This property is a single-family detached home at 24 Johnson Street. The home has a series, it's a 1.5-story home. It's gone through a series of additions. There's at least 2 additions out to the back, to the rear of the property, which is the north side. Which is evident through some of the construction work that's gone on, the underpinning of the foundation, and the additions on the back of the property to the north have been somewhat in an ad hoc nature. There's a little consistency on roof lines, there's a little consistency on floor elevations within the house itself. As well as some of the framing that's been completed are somewhat subject to whether or not they follow current codes or not. Particularly a small kitchen addition out the back, which has a vaulted ceiling with no lateral stability for the top of the walls. And some of the roofs at the back are sagging. This particular client reached out to me to come and take a look at the property and see what we can do in terms of expanding the kitchen addition, as well as addressing some of the structural concerns. We have engaged with a contractor who's been out as well and taken a look at some of these issues. And the general consensus is to extend an addition out to the back that would replace the sort of 2 existing additions that have taken place some time ago. Perhaps we could scroll up to the floor plans. So the floor plan on the sort of center of the page, we can see the existing additions in red, red dashed line. This is sort of addition number 1, which would be south of those stairs towards the bottom of the page, and then a small little lean-to addition that was added on later to the north of those stairs. The property is heavily landscaped and beautifully done as sort of a small English cottage. The owner wishes to maintain as much of the existing landscaping as possible. And part of that would be to extend no further north than the existing house, and then reconfigure the additions to the west and to the east, but still maintaining existing access through the driveway into the back and into the kitchen. The addition would include an expanded kitchen and a new bathroom. Well, it's an existing bathroom that would be replaced with one with proper ceiling heights and new fixtures. The elevations, if we could just scroll perhaps down to the elevations. So the south elevation, this property is on the north side of Johnson Street. So the south elevation is the curb frontage, the street frontage. There is no work currently planned for any of the front of the house. That is sort of the original original house itself, which we would like to maintain. And then with the addition to the north, we're looking at essentially carrying the existing datums across. So existing eave lines, existing roof lines, we would simply carry those throughout. This would greatly enhance and clean up the rear addition, the north addition, as well as expansive windows to capitalize on views into the beautiful landscaped areas. The materiality of the project, we are looking at a siding. We have suggested a board and batten siding. The original siding that's on the house is an 8-inch wood siding. And we're looking at complementing that so that the original house and the original design intent stands for itself, while we have a complementary addition to the north. The scale of the project, this would be a single story, one-story addition with a vaulted ceiling. And we would tie in with existing roof lines so that there'd be some consistency in elevations. I think with that, I think I can turn it over back to the committee if there's any questions or comments on the application.
Okay, thanks. So do we have questions or comments? Not seeing any. Okay. I guess we need a motion to approve. Does somebody wish to make that motion? Holly?
Sure.
And all in favor? Done.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad. I'll be in touch about next steps with you and with Santa. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to item 7.3, 29 Johnson Street. We have another proposal for an alteration to the property.
And I'm not sure, through the chair, if Debbie or Carlos wanted to speak to this one, or both of you. But I'll have this.
This is Carlos Ochoa. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good afternoon to all members of the board and also planning department. My name is Carlos Ochoa. I've been working with the client. The client is also attending to the meeting, so I would like to do an introduction of the project, and also she can participate on it. Lorraine, could you please show the site plan that we sent out the beginning?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so we're talking about the corner lot of Dalhousie and Johnson Street. The owners live in the existing house. We are not doing anything with the existing house. Actually, they've been living there for a year, and they've been doing a lot of improvements on the lot. And also, what we are basically doing with that part of the lot is just relocating the existing garage, which it was built on 2003. And we have a picture of the existing conditions of the garage location on the right bottom part of the page. And this will give us the opportunity to create the second part, the part number 2, which basically complying with all the requirements for the zoning bylaw, turning into a lot of 301 square meters and with a frontage of 16 meters width. Basically, this is it for the site plan. If we can move to the next page. Thank you very much. So the idea of the new house, of the proposed house, is to have a contemporary cottage style that basically is matching the existing conditions of the house where they are living right now. We have on the ground floor, right side of the page, we have a covered porch that is inside of the dwelling envelope allowed by the zoning bylaw. We enter to a foyer and a stairs, which brings us a 1.5 story space. It will be connected to a great room on the right side and also to the dining, kitchen, and laundry area facing the back, taking us to a wood deck that is also compliant with the zoning bylaw in terms of area of load occupancy and also with the height of the structure. We have also a single car garage that is connected to the house. And on the on the left part of the page, we're gonna have our second floor layout, which the stairs take us to a corridor that bring us into the left side to two secondary bedrooms with a walk-in closet and the other one with a wall closet. Bedroom number one will have a cantilever bay window, which is allowed by the zoning bylaw, and also it will be inside of the dwelling footprint or lot coverage. So that means that we are not really encroaching into any setbacks. On the rear part, we are encroaching into the setbacks also with the allowances of the 25% allowed by the zoning bylaw. On the right side, we're gonna continue to the corridor. They're gonna have a shared bathroom for these two bedrooms. And then continue to the right side, we're gonna have a den office space with vaulted ceilings at the front facing the facade. And then on the rear part, we're gonna have our master bedroom with ensuite and walk-in closet. So that will be basically the distribution of the house and the program that the clients want to obtain. If we go for next page, please, Lori. Okay, here is on the left side, we have the current condition of the existing garage location. And on the right side, we are showing the location of the garage as we are proposed. And this garage complies with the zoning bylaws as we right now facing this street. Right now is the front setback, but now that we have two lots, it's gonna become the exterior side yard. And basically we're placing it on the allowances by the code that is 3 meters. So as you can see, the right picture shows that relocation of the garage actually looks, in a better way or better look for the house. If we continue with the next page, please. Okay, here we have the facade for the proposed. On the top right, we have the front facade that is going to be facing now the Lucy. As I mentioned before, we're going to have contemporary cottage style, matching some elements of the existing house. We're going to have natural materials like brick on the chimney. We're also going to have the use of the brick on the main bodies of the building, which is the living space or playroom, and also the space above that is the office den. And then on the opposite side, we also using the brick for the wall that is facing the garage, and also the cantilever bay window. The bay window will have some shades siding, and the middle part, that is the cover entry, and the dormer will be lap siding, horizontal siding, matching the existing conditions of the house. We also have some metal roof as a part of the cover entry and the dormer, and then we're going to have shingles for the rest of the roof of the house. We can see on the bottom page, right side, and also on top of the left sides elevations. One is facing the existing house, another one is facing the neighbor, and we carry the materials around. In this case, it's going to be siding, and the final one that is going to be the bottom on the left, it will be the rear one, which is siding, and also some shades for the cantilever bay window. If we can move to the other page. And here we have some conceptual views of the proposal. Existing house, we are not interfering with the existing house except for the relocation of the existing garage. And then we have the front facade or conceptual rendering, and also from each side of the corner side, and also from the neighbor side. So basically, this is what we're proposing tonight. This afternoon, and we would like to hear any comments, any questions that you have from your part. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Do we have questions or comments about the proposal? Robert?
My only concern, I think it's a nice looking project, but I'm concerned about the height. We have some issues with height in relation to adjoining properties in this part of Port before, and I'm wondering if there's anything in the immediate district of similar heights, because obviously the immediately adjoining properties are not quite that tall.
Yes, can we go back to the facades display that we can, here we go. So the zoning by law being at R27, that is require a maximum of 9 meters. Basically, we are under the requirement that is we are only proposing 8 meters height. So basically, we are under the envelope of the allowances for the zoning by law, even for our restricted area that is Portalucci, correct?
Mm.
And other questions or comments?
I just want to add to the height. You are within the zoning. I don't think the comment was zoning. It was more in terms of the adherence to the, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Heritage District guidelines. So it's 2 stories and the buildings around it are generally 1.5 and they're quite smaller. It's more like the alignment with the, I don't know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but I think that was the issue, was not with the zoning in terms of city zoning and other requirements, but in terms of alignment with our heritage guidelines. I agree that it is taller.
You're correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, that was really my only concern about it was, the design looks great, but it just seemed to be towering a little bit, over the neighboring structures, but.
Yes, one of the items that we were discussing with Lorraine when we first approached, it was you can keep it there. Okay, or no, let's go back to the facade, the front, exactly, the top right. Something that we can fix on that one is the dormer. I noticed that it's a little bit steep, the slope, so we can reduce the slope and still being a dormer, and it will cut it, in somehow that big presence that is right now. Also, something that I don't know if it's a compromise from the client, we can reduce also on the slope of the roofs. We have 12 on 12. If she's agreed, so we can probably reduce it to 10 on 12 or something that it makes us a little bit smaller scale.
Okay. So if there's no other questions or comments, then I guess we need to have a motion to approve the proposed alterations. Rachel?
And I'm sorry for interrupting, but Mr. Ochoa Carlos,
Yes.
I believe you had mentioned that there was a possibility of compromise. Is that something, not to speak for the rest of the committee, but is that something the committee wanted to consider was a compromise on height, or do we just want to proceed with approving, like if that is possible?
Well, actually, the client is also attending to the meeting, and she's
okay.
reducing it with 10 on 12. So we were more than happy to fix that and obtain your approval if you agree.
Through the chair, we can add that to the motion. If anyone has any recommendations for language there, how about does that work for everyone?
I don't know how specific that's supposed to be, but
we can be more
that
specific.
works for me.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if the general
specific.
consensus is to be more specific. Apologies for speaking without raising my hand. If we should be more specific or not, or if it's just what we discussed in the meeting. I also don't want to speak for the rest of the committee. If the rest of the committee agrees that we should vote as is, then that's also fine. We should do these things on consensus, I feel.
If I may,
Robert?
If we're talking about alterations to roof height and pitch, we should specify to lower it.
Through the chair, maybe I'll jump in for a second if you don't mind. I would recommend maybe something a little broader, like just yes, of course, mentioning that it should be lower, but maybe not being so specific about the actual 10 or 12, or just because it might allow them the flexibility to come up with a solution that might work for them. Don't want to hold them to something that maybe isn't feasible when they actually go to the drawing board. So some flexibility would be, I think, welcome, and then Lauren can work with the applicant to make sure that it meets the intent of the motion.
Dr. Bergen.
Oh, I just wondered if what sort of a reduction in height. I agree that it really stands out a bit like a sore thumb with the houses on either side. How much of a height was Carlos proposing roughly?
The actually drawing shows 12 on 12, and we're planning to reduce it 10 on 12. That it will be considered, a considered reduction. That will reduce the building height. And as I mentioned before, we are still under the 9 meters that the zoning bylaw allows it for heritage.
Could we put that into the motion?
So lower from 12 over 12 to 10 over 12? Is that accurate? It just may be less flexible that way. I mean, if it's not like if it's slightly off from that.
I'm sorry, can I speak? I'm sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand. I'm trying to find the hand on here and I can't find it.
Go ahead.
I really appreciate what you're saying. I understand. I would like a little bit of flexibility because we haven't looked at anything, how that's going to work. So what James had said, I think makes more sense to us. We are going to do everything we can to reduce it. Obviously, that's very important to us too. We don't want it to stand out like a sore thumb. We want it to blend. It's important to us. So if it could be left broader, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think this is something that we can really work with as staff, and we can continue to work with the applicant and
appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Move forward with this if everyone's okay with that.
If you're going to be moving the garage, does that have to be? Do we need a motion for that as well?
I think that's encompassed in the proposed alterations.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
The chair, we could actually, because we're approving a new house, we might want to reflect that in the motion. So it could say that the SCHAC recommends approval of the proposed new residence at 29 Johnston and the proposed alterations to, or not proposed alterations, but with the condition that the roof is lowered and the pitch is lowered, something like that. Lauren, you can finesse it much better than I can speak there.
29 Johnson. Proposed location of the garage. Is that closer? So proposed relocation of the garage, lot severance and new residence at 29 Johnson Street with alterations to lower the roof height and pitch on the new residence. Spelling. How's that look?
I think that would work for me. Any other questions or comments about it, Rachel? You've got your thumb up?
It was just an agreement.
Okay. Robert?
I'm good with making that recommendation.
So you're good for making the motion?
I am. Sorry. The motion for approval.
So if there's no other questions or comments, then I guess everybody, approve. It looks like it's done. Yep.
Thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate your insights too.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll be in touch with the next steps for the heritage permit.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 7.5, the heritage plaque research on the oil fountain and Zion Baptist Church. Lauren, take it away.
Let me just pull up my presentation here. Yes, just through the chair, I wanted to update you on the work that we've been doing on this project. I circulated the text around to committee members. As you know, I got some excellent feedback on that. Also circulated the text to Adrian and started working with him on getting higher resolution images to include in those plaques. Also working internally with the graphics department at the city through their internal graphics design to make sure that the plaque design is consistent with other plaques that are being produced and that they're consistent with the kind of standards and requirements of the city that they have generally. And also reached out to company Fondase about getting a quote for those. So I'm just going to pull up here. So for the oil fountain, got a lot of good feedback in some revised language. Also got some feedback from Adrian just on the kind of like focus of the plaque on the geranium. And he suggested, like, while that's a very important part of it, having it be the longest paragraph and with that many details, that maybe we can slightly revise that to focus more on, you know, the fire suppression, contributions to public health and the industrialization and growth of the community. So I'm going to continue to work with that to make sure that, you know, everyone's interests and concerns are addressed in the language. He also suggested a better photo to use. So we're going to be finding that photo and getting a nice high-res scan of it. We do have access to this one, but this one's from the 80s, and there's one that's from much earlier where you can kind of see, you know, a dirt road and kind of see that earlier development of it. And so that's something that, you know, going to continue to work on.
Excuse me, could you say that again? I didn't catch exactly. But the last sentence you said.
That we're going to be getting a new image.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and I think that's it.
Oh.
That we're going to be working to get to find that. He knows it's in the collection somewhere, and to scan it.
Okay, you're talking about whether you mentioned the word road, so I'm wondering.
Yes. There is an image that's of a different angle, and you can actually see it's from a much earlier, and you can see kind of the like a dirt road in the background, and it kind of like places it earlier in the city's history, and you can kind of see, you know, how significant a development it would have been to have this kind of access to fresh water, and how that contributed to the growth of the city. So he thought that would be a better way of illustrating that through that image. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That answers.
And then also for the Zion Baptist Church, we have this language here. We're going to be reaching out again to internally within the city to make sure that for both plaques the language is you know, consistent with you know, standards and guidelines and what we expect from city plaques. But as far as, like, you know, changes to this text goes, there haven't been a lot of suggestions. And then both of these images as well, getting those higher resolution images from the museum to include in the design of the plaques. From a budget perspective, the quotes that we got from Fondase included the design, the installation, and everything involving the plaques. Altogether, it came to just under 10,000 in total. Because we're doing the design internally, that will be lower. And because we may be making slightly smaller plaques as per the recommendations of design and graphic design and communications departments. That also will lower the total amount. And so we anticipate for the both plaques, it'll be closer to $8,000 for that installation, because that exceeds the amount of budget available in 1 year. Are also working to look at either splitting those up, so approving one for this year and one for next year, and having those installed in different years, but essentially at the same time, or at not splitting it up and organizing it with FONASA to use the budget for 2024 for, say, a down payment, and then complete the rest of that budget in for 2025. Again, we're still working with FONASA on that, and also working internally with our finance department on how to best split that. But we do anticipate, like as we're talking with Adrian, that there will be leftover funds available for the Global Salmon Way. In any case, I mean, regardless. So exactly how we end up splitting those quotes and splitting that money between 2024 and 2025, we do think that first of all, we'll be able to move forward with both plaques, and second of all, that there will be that remainder available for other projects. Yeah. Is there any questions?
Thanks, Lauren. Gail.
Yeah, I have quite a few, of course, as usual. And I did talk to Rochelle Bush. She called me, and I should make not really a disclaimer, a claimer. Rochelle Bush and I have been long friends. I'm a huge supporter, donor to the church, and she has agreed to put up the Zion Baptist sign on the Salem Chapel property. And under that consideration, she also very much wants to have some input into the wording and wants to see it. Now, she's very different. We're very close people. She comes over to my house, knows my husband well. We've been long going to the church events, whatever they may be. We're very different characters, though, but both of us are quite outspoken. And she very much wants to know about the QR code. Will there be a QR code on the sign or not? And I don't use a QR code. I know nothing. So I said I would relay that to you, through to you. And maybe could be some discussion on that. When you mentioned being consistent with the standards of the city, what do we know about the standards? What does the Heritage Advisory Committee volunteers know about the standards of the city about plaques? I'd like to see that formalized, because I don't think we can move much further unless we know. You mentioned the graphic department. I didn't even know there was a graphic department. Which department is the graphic artist in? So I've got lots of questions here.
So through the chair, all good questions. Because I'm so new to the city, I'm just learning about these things as well. And I'm kind of relying on, talking through the project internally with our communications department. And also, it's something that we've talked about before with plaques, is there's so many different departments and organizations in the city who have a responsibility for these kinds of installations, that it is actually very complex and not entirely clear. So as we go through it, we're kind of discovering this as we go. But I think that's a really excellent idea. And I know that I'm going to have to come back next month.
Which idea? Which idea?
That the committee is made aware of the standards and guidelines around these kind of plaques. So
indeed.
So again, I'm just learning them as well. And I know that we still have to do that work internally. So what I can do is I can find out what I learn going through this and include that in my presentation next month. And as well with the mock-ups and the design that graphics has put together for us. The graphic designers are through the communications department, which is something that I've just learned as well. So I think
Okay,
that's yes. So I think that that's something that I'm really glad to share with you, and that we can do next, include in our discussions next month as this project moves forward. Yeah.
I'm also concerned about the fact that the museum seems to be in a sort of a, I don't know how to say this more politely, a takeover zone. They have something to say about everything that the Heritage Advisory Committee does now. And when these plaques come out, both of these plaques, I would like it to be the Heritage Advisory Committee that has decided the final decisions on what they're going to be. If the museum wants to do a different picture of the oil fountain, for instance, fine. If we agree that it's better than the one that we were just looking at. But I really would like to have it come from us and it be known that it's the Heritage Advisory Committee, not the museum, that is doing all the work on the plaques. In fact, the Zion Baptist Church one, in fact, never even came to the museum at all. It was completely ours, and I'd like it to remain ours. Is that a possibility?
Through the chair, yes, I think from staff's perspective, because there are so many different groups in the city that are responsible for plaques, and because honestly, as a heritage planner, it's not my area of expertise. We do reach out to Adrian for his help and his expertise on these things, but it is ultimately the hack's responsibility for this type of plaque. I just know that that I appreciate his insights into it, just like as I appreciate your insights, and I would appreciate Rochelle's insights into it, and hopefully we can use all of that to make something that that you're happy with, that the committee's happy with as well. Yeah.
I'm just asking these questions because it all started with the committee, the Zion Baptist Church, the oil fountain or not, and I'd really like some credit be given to the advisory committee. Again, back to the graphics, do you know if there's in the communications department under which the graphics works, do they actually have an artist, a graphic artist, or?
Yes, that's the person who I just met, who I'm working with now. Yeah, and I'll make sure to bring those before you, so you can kind of see that design. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And could you spell Fortescue, the organization?
I always spell this incorrectly. It's
Fontasy. Fontasy?
Yeah, Fontasy. Yeah.
Right, we've seen that before. Fontasy, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
SAY. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very respectfully, very much.
Through the chair, before Holly chimes in, Holly, if you don't mind, I'll just so just to answer a couple of Gail's questions. So the making sure that the Heritage Committee, that it's acknowledged that the work is coming from the Heritage Committee and the funds in particular. We've done that before with the on-site, the history on-site program, the signs that we did last year with the museum. We partnered up with them and we provided with funds for that. They made sure to put the funding from this that went towards this program came from the Heritage Committee, and they made sure that that was on the sign. We can make sure that a similar message is on the sign, on these signs as well. But we really do rely really strongly on the expertise that we have at our museum. In terms of our expertise as heritage planners, coming up making plaques is a challenge, and it's not part of our technically it's not part of our job descriptions as union members, and so we do have members of our of the city whose job responsibilities are to create signs and create these types of plaques, and so it's our job to rely on those people, and also they're the best at them. Like they know what they're doing, they know how to produce them. The costs involve where to get the resources for photos and making sure that they're a good enough quality. That's just not something that Lauren and myself have the expertise in. And so Yeah, we would, and I think since I've started at the city, Adrian and I have really tried to work hard to form more of a partnership and use our funds in a way that get the most bang for their buck. That's why we were able to, last year do the History Insight program, and use what little funds we had to create 4 new signs, right? So I think the more opportunities we have to work with the museum rather than kind of siloed, I think it actually allows our funds and our abilities to go a lot further. So I
Okay.
would recommend that we partner as much as possible with the museum and use that expertise, and find ways to create really good programming with them. So
Right.
that's all I would say with that.
Okay. In my one, the one that I sent forward, all of the people that I sourced, they're all from Niagara except me. I came in the 70s. They're all born and raised in Niagara and know Niagara very, very well. I just want to say that what they contributed is that because they're really Niagara and St. Catharines people, and I'm a latecomer.
The other thing I'll mention, you mentioned Rochelle, and Lauren. I don't
Yes,
know if Lauren's had a chance to go out to see Rochelle yet because she's only been on the job for a few months. But
yeah,
I had a great chat with Rochelle during the summer
I
and
knew
let her
that.
know
Yeah,
also that
yeah,
Lauren was going to come out and see her. So this is actually a really good opportunity for kind of Lauren to reach out to her and let her know what's going on with this
right.
sign and get her feedback. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
I
no, that's
just wanted to
good
tell,
timing.
Absolutely.
let her know that I would bring this forward. She's really very good with QR codes and all the things that she does in her work. And you know her style. She's very outspoken, very outspoken.
Yeah, no,
And
that's great.
Brian also knows her extremely well and can vouch for that, right? Okay,
No, Rochelle definitely she's a huge resource and asset for us, right? So we want if we can use her in this situation where she probably knows more than all of us about, what should go into this plaque. I think it definitely is beneficial for
yeah,
us to reach out to her. So we'll make sure we do that.
okay, thank
Absolutely.
you.
Holly?
Just through the chair, just sitting listening to some of these comments, and I remember back in the days when we used to meet in the Burgoyne room around the table live before COVID and Zoom meetings,
Yeah,
and we would sometimes even get proofs of what the plaques were going to look like, by Burtnick Printing, and we used like local companies, and just the price of $10,000 is just kind of shocking.
mhm,
Still
mhm.
ever using the Burtnick Printing and using local sources? Just some thoughts while listening to everybody.
May I just comment on that? We also use McGee for the Carnahan
That's
Park
right.
sign.
Yeah,
And
McGee
they're
was.
they're gone now, but we've
Yeah,
used local. Yeah.
I was trying. That was the one I was trying to remember. Gail McGee.
Yeah.
That was the one.
McGee, yeah,
Used to
they were
use that.
great for the Carnahan Park sign. Yeah.
It wasn't Burtnick. It was McGee. So
Ah, right.
Through the chair,
Um,
I'll just because Lauren might not have she wasn't around when we
Not yet.
created the other signs, right? So Fantasy has been the group that you might remember the NS&T signs that we did with Paul Chapman a couple years ago. They were able to put together those for us. The prices are actually pretty in line with what we had for the NS&T signs, or what we were quoted there. Obviously, since COVID, everything has gone up in prices. And so it's not surprising that it's a little more expensive than what the NS&T signs were, but I think we contributed half of the funds to that program, the NS&T plaque program, and I think the total came out to over 10,000. Like we contributed 5,000 of that, but I think for 3 signs they were each about 3,300, and I think that's roughly approximately what we're being quoted here, plus tax and labor and stuff like that. So I don't think it's that. It's just unfortunately it takes a lot of time and resources and money to do these types of things. And I realize maybe there are groups locally that do it, but we have a relationship with Fantasy right now. We know they've done good work. And I don't know if Lawrence had any chats with the museum staff with Adrian about what groups they've used in the past, but we can
Yeah.
explore that certainly.
Yeah, I haven't looked at alternate suppliers, but I did have a conversation with Adrian about the budget and the quote. And he said it was fairly consistent. With the exception of the extra cost for doing design, and because we're doing the design internally, that it's fairly consistent with what you'd expect. So yeah.
we a lot of the plaques that we've had put in for say pioneer cemeteries and things were done by Fantasy, and for the most part, they stand up quite well. Like, you know, the plaque in the Hostetter Cemetery was put in back in 2012, and it still looks as great today as when it was put in, you know, 12 years ago. So my only comments about the plaques, and it's mainly about the oil fountain one, and you know, I'm going to ruffle Gail's feathers here a little bit.
We do this occasionally, yes.
Yeah. I would still like to see Dr. Oil's middle name included in the text. Call him Lucius Stern Oil. Because I think on the fountain right now, there's a brass plaque that says, you know, Lucius S. Oil. And for me, it's like, you know, other people might wonder, what does that S stand for? Is it, you know, Solomon, Samuel, you know, Stargazer, you know, Starbucks, whatever. So I'd like to see his middle name included if possible.
I would like to not, as Brian knows, and we have our disagreements, because I asked the question, can you tell me what the middle name of Harry Truman, President Harry Truman, S. Truman stands for? Anyone? Anyone?
Rachel.
Okay, Rachel, what is
It's
it?
S. It's Harry S. for nothing Truman.
That's right. He doesn't have a middle name. He decided he'd put an S in there. It's very good, Rachel. Way to go. Because everyone else, earlier presidents, all had middle names. So he just chose S, right? So that's also, I think we're limited to the amount of words we were going to do, and I'm very happy to have the last sentence of what I said I would take out, completely taken out. But I am worried more about the fact that with the museum expertise, they want to have some more control of these two plaques then. And I know their expertise. I'm a member of it. I get all of their stuff. I look at their podcasts, etc., and so on. Wrote actually the new museum's pamphlet welcoming people to the new museum. So I don't think we need Stearns in there. Everyone knows it is just Lucius Oil. Nobody knows his middle name.
I do. That's why I want it in.
Anyway, that's for more discussion.
Anyway, the other thing about the oil plaque is if you need an old image, I've got a historic postcard in my collection showing the courthouse, the fountain, and there's a horse and buggy coming off King Street, turning on to James, and it's a really nice, probably around 1900, turn of the century postcard. I mean, I could lend that for scanning and digitization if it's a suitable image.
Through the chair, Adrian mentioned thinking that an image like that existed, but wasn't sure if he hallucinated it, if it was like, and so if you have that and have access to it, and you wanted to either scan or take an image, or if wanted me to come by and do that, like that, I would be of interest, definitely. I would be interested in it just to see it because it sounds like a really cool postcard. Yeah.
No, it's actually sitting on my desk in the other room, so so I can make that available if necessary.
Could you make it available to all of us to look at?
Oh yeah.
I will if you include the name Stern. I'm going to hardball on this one.
Over and out to Lauren. I'm sorry to put this all on your plate, our little internal dispute.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay, so
wonderful.
If we have no other questions or comments,
well, I'm just going to say, I say, do we really need his birth date as well as mentioning that? If we do mention his death date, I guess, but and if Adrian doesn't want anything about the geranium, that's another discussion.
Okay, bargaining chip here. If we take out the birth and death dates, then we put in his middle name.
Trying to stay to 150 words is really difficult.
Through the chair, there's something to be said here about designing a plaque through committee. There's a lot of different opinions and a lot of different perspectives, but I do hope that we'll be able to find something that everyone is content with.
Yeah. And you will send us something about the consistent standards you were referring to, you know?
I'm learning about them too. Yeah.
Yeah, who knew? Okay,
So I guess if there's nothing else, then we need a motion to, excuse me, to receive the update. Does somebody wish to make the motion?
oh, just to receive the update.
Just to receive, yeah.
Oh, I can do that. Oh,
Okay. Gail, thank you.
Yeah.
All in favor? Okay, 7.6, St. Catharines Public Library, Port Dalhousie branch. There's going to be changes to the soffit material. So Lauren,
Yeah, no, so this is just a request, just really quickly, that we got from through our facilities department from Councillor Garcia. And he just wanted to come here and have you just comment on the idea. But essentially the question was, can the soffit material of the library building be changed from wood, which is what it is now, to aluminum. And just to kind of like update you on what's being proposed, the facilities is currently going through the process of taking down all the vines and replacing any wood that has been damaged or rotten, and kind of repairing and replacing what has been put there in kind, which is very consistent with the guidelines. Removing the vines, which will help the long term conservation of the wood that is there, and kind of prevent the kind of deterioration from happening that they're responding to now. And I think just to have the conversation, if it's something that anyone wants to comment on or make any recommendations about the change of material. Speaking to Vincent, who's responsible for this project, he says that it can be done, that we can replace the existing wood soffit and fascia with aluminum, and that it would be visually very similar, painted in the same color. It wouldn't be that significantly different. However, just looking at the Port Dalhousie HCD guidelines, generally the policies say that when undertaking repairs, replacement or restoration, use the same materials as original, and also in the guidelines as an appendix, preservation brief number 8, about aluminum and vinyl siding on historic buildings, also suggests that this is not a good technical approach to this kind of work. But the question has been asked, and so I'll give it to the committee to see if they have any strong opinions on that. I think from staff's perspective, the guidelines are pretty clear, and this is what's recommended. So yeah.
okay, thanks. So do we have comments or questions about this? Holly?
Couldn't they use hardy board instead of aluminum siding? Did they look at alternatives?
Yeah, I guess through the chair, that could also be an alternate material. It wasn't what was proposed, but I guess looking at that substitute is something that we can consider. I think the thing is at this time, when the guidelines were written, hardy board wasn't a thing, and so it probably would fall about in the same category as the aluminum and the vinyl, but it is I think generally considered to be a slightly better in heritage districts. It's true. Yeah.
Would replacing this with aluminum or vinyl sort of be the same kind of argument that we have when we're putting, say, a replacement window into a heritage house? As long as you're not monkeying with the size of the opening, and if it has a similar appearance, we've approved windows that have not been, say, like wood sashes with wood sashes. So, and if it's only, the soffits on this building, is it really such a big deal? if we use aluminum or vinyl, surely to goodness, if somebody really complains, it can be later taken down and replaced with wood.
Yeah, that's an interesting, through the chair, that's an interesting point through you. That's an interesting point. The reversibility of it, if they're already replacing the existing wood, it could be seen as reversible. So you could put wood back there again. That's interesting. Yeah.
And how do we know, with the wood soffit, I mean, this building is what, from the 1860s or something? Is it an 1860s soffit, or is it, 1960s soffit that was, put up there at some point? Rachel.
I think I'd just be curious to know, and I'm sure this is the rationale for using aluminum, but I'm just curious about the, I don't know the way to put it, life expectancies, I guess, of both. Like, I'm sure the rationale for choosing aluminum is that they're not going to have to touch this for another however many years, et cetera, et cetera. So, but I'd like to know the difference because, if it's like, well, aluminum will last for 5 years and wood will last for 4, well, then I'd say just use wood. But I'm guessing there's a huge difference between estimated lifespans, I guess, of both. And I agree with everything you've said, Brian. I'm not trying to contradict that. I'm just curious about what the rationale was for choosing aluminum. I can make an educated guess, but I would love to have that kind of information about why they're not going with wood, which I'm guessing is what I've said, but it'd be interesting, or I'd be curious to have that information.
And another consideration, instead of replacing the wood with aluminum or vinyl, like taking the soffit down, if the wood soffit is in good condition, can it be like coated with, like, have aluminum or vinyl cladding attached to it, keep the original underneath, so it's still there?
I guess
It'd be a
through the chair,
compromise.
yeah, for my understanding of what's being proposed, that it is quite damaged, and also, in sometimes in those circumstances, like capping it or covering it actually like will contribute to additional deterioration, depending on just like how much moisture gets behind the capped, or the new, between the new and the old, and then things like freeze thaw during the winter. So it's something I can ask about for sure, but from my understanding, it usually is not the best compromise.
Any other questions or comments? If not, then I guess we should get a motion to receive. So does somebody wish to make that motion?
Sure.
Ollie, thank you. And all in favor? Okay. I guess moving on to updates from subcommittees, we've got an update about the designations from Lauren.
Yeah. And just really quick, this designation subcommittee met a couple weeks ago to kind of move forward with some of the research that we've been doing on properties, but also to look through the prioritization project and the list that we had put together earlier, to kind of prioritize maybe a top like 4 or 5 properties that we want to be working on next, just to kind of have them in the pipeline and be aware of what we wanted to move forward with. And so just really quickly letting you know, after a bunch of conversation and discussion, the Eco Park, the Malcolmson greenhouse was identified as one of the top properties to be prioritized. 38 Geneva with 2 Queenston also just identified as something that we want to pursue sooner rather than later. All of these have, some element of risk, some element of, either development opportunities that may come up for them, or even just like seeing something you're like, yeah, that should obviously be designated. And it would be something that'd be easier to do the research and get through and do the evaluation. So it's a combination of factors. 15 Welland, just a very obvious choice. Everyone looks at this and like, yes, of course that should be designated. 1 Welland Avenue, it was, seen as something that we could that would be a strong candidate for meeting 906, and also, recognizing that there was some development opportunity around the building, and so wanting to include that in our next round of designations. And then finally, 219 Merritt Street, also a very interesting building, also something that was seen as something that would be something that we could pursue, and it would be a good candidate. So those are the next kind of round of properties that the designation subcommittee is going to pursue evaluating. For us, we've decided to look at evaluations as kind of our way of or number of evaluations as kind of our way of of determining how the committee is doing. So we recognize that not all of these will meet 906, and not all of them will be designated, but we do want to move forward with the evaluations. So that's that.
Thanks, Lorraine, or Lauren. Do you have questions or comments? Robert?
If I may, Lauren, didn't we also add the property, the Italianate building, Vine near Carlton?
Okay, yeah. We definitely talked about that one as one that we thought was significant. I'll have to go back to the minutes, but I think you might be right, that it was identified as one that we were really, really interested in doing that evaluation on. You're correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was 260 Vine Street, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
Sounds
Yeah,
about right.
260 Vine. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Are you talking about Lauren's presentation?
Presentation, yeah.
Okay. No.
Okay. So I guess in that case, we need a motion to receive. I'll make the motion. Or did John Crawley want to make the motion?
I think John's speaker's not working, or his audio.
Yeah.
Hi, John.
So John, you're making the motion?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. So all in favor?
Yep.
Done. I guess we didn't have any miscellaneous items, no correspondence. So then I guess that being said,
I would like to just clarify that you're going to, Lauren, I said through you to Lauren, you're going to send us the consistency with the standards of the city information. And I have a question about the communications department, which doesn't communicate with us. Is there any way to get a flow chart? This is something that Brian and Lorraine and I asked years ago about just the building and standards and planning department or whatever, and never got it. So could you find out if there's a flow chart of staff in communications? I recall several heritage planners ago tried to get the POE committee to improve its communications, but we didn't ever hear anything back from the person we were introduced to briefly, who was supposed to help us with our communications. Is there a flow chart? I have on my own gone through Citizens First to get through to somebody to get a flow chart of any department, and I did get finally a general plan, flow chart, organizational chart of the city as a whole, which department was here and that kind of thing. But can it be broken down? I'd like to know who works in the communications department.
So,
Is that
so through the
possible?
chair, I'll kind of jump in for Lauren because I think this has come up before.
Yeah.
And the direction that we've been given from clerk's department is Lauren is your staff liaison. And so if there are any, if we do need to get in touch with anybody from the communications department, that's Lauren's job essentially is to make those contacts. So if there are any issues that, or if there, no matter the department, if there's anything that our Heritage Committee needs to address and it requires another staff member, it all funnels through Lauren. Yeah, we don't have, because of the amount of turnover that happens at the city, we don't have, who's working where at any given time. We'd have to update that chart and, circulate it to everybody almost weekly because of the amount of staff at the city.
Yeah.
And so what we've been told by clerks is, any concerns that come up, if it's, related to communications or if we want to reach out to somebody in parks or anything like that, go through Lauren. Lauren will then be able to, she has the network around her to be able to reach out to those people. And we can bring those people to our meetings if we need to, right? Like we bring Adrian to our meetings quite a bit. We've had Amanda at our meetings to talk about parks issues before.
Right.
So, if we do need to bring those people out, we're more than happy to do that. But no, we can't really provide, who's where and all their contact info, unfortunately.
Right. Okay.
So, and that's the direction we've been given from clerks. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you.
No problem.
Clarification.
So, next meeting, December 19th, presumably at 2:30, same bat time, same bat station.
Yep.
So, to the chair, I just wanted to notice, make sure everyone is aware that that's it's only 3 weeks away. We're not, because we've moved it up because of the holiday season. Just being aware that there's a little change there, but we'll still be moving forward and sending out all the materials as normal. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 4:20 according to my clock. I guess we need a motion to adjourn or terminate for the day until we meet again. Does somebody wish to make that motion?
Sure. I'll make it.
Gail, thank you. And all in favor? Done. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Nice talking with you.
Or Jimmy.